Work and learn. Meet Light Meet Max සක්‍රිය කර ගැනීමට MySLT app එකට log වෙන්න. Work and learn. Meet Light Meet Max සක්‍රිය කර ගැනීමට MySLT app එකට log වෙන්න.
වැඩිම ආරක්ෂාව අඩුම මිලකට. කෙටයක් රුපියල් 54යි.
On 1st at 9 this Thursday, the 10th of November 2022. Embargo. IMF warns Sri Lanka to keep staff-level agreement undisclosed until creditor assurance is finalized. President informs Parliament. Ready for investment. Sri Lanka is good in terms of doing business, but Sri Lanka should improve.
But for the local economy to really become robust, there has to be infrastructure and investment, which is capital intensive. And there's an opportunity for foreign investors.
Stability. The CBSL reveals that the economy has shown signs of stability in the second half of 2022, adding that the country is expected to reach recovery path in latter part of 2023. Court determination. Supreme Court determines that the VAT Amendment Bill as a whole is not inconsistent with the provisions of the Constitution if necessary amendments are made.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9 with Andrew Bernard. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Welcome back. Very good evening and joining AdaDerana 24's English News. I'm Andrew Bernard. Now, President Ranil Wickremesinghe informed Parliament today that the IMF has requested for the staff-level agreement on the 1st of September in order to keep it wraps until it is finalized with Sri Lanka's bilateral creditors and other institutions. Now, the head of state made these remarks in response to a question raised by the chief opposition whip on whether it would be tabled in Parliament before the budget debate. Meanwhile, the head of state remarked that the COP27 summit which he attended had failed to make significant progress since COP26 took place, as many developed and G20 countries showed no enthusiasm in participating in the climate change conference.
මේ සම්මේලනයට ගියද්දී මට අවස්ථාව හම්බ වුණා ජාත්‍යන්තර බහුල අරමුදලේ කළමනාකාර අධ්‍යක්ෂක හම්බ වෙන්න එතුමිය එක්ක සාකච්ඡා කරා මේට අපිට සහයෝගය දෙනවා කිව්වා. ඉතින් කිසිම බයක් තියන්න එපා. අපිට දැන් තියෙන්නේ ඉන්දියාවයි චීනය එක්ක සාකච්ඡා කරලා අවසන් කරන්න. චීනය අපිට කිව්වේ පක්ෂ සම්මේලනයෙන් පස්සේ ආරම්භ කරන්න කියලා. ඒක ආරම්භ කළා තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒ ගැන බලලා අපි ක්‍රියාත්මක කරමු. දෙකේම රටවල් දෙකෙන්ම ඉල්ලන්නේ දෙසැම්බර් මාසෙ වෙනදා බලමු මේක අවසන් කරන්න කියලා. අපේ විපක්ෂ ප්‍රධාන සංවිධායකතුමා කිව්වා මේ කරුණු දන්නේ නැත්නම් අපි විවාදයට එන්නේ නැහැ කියලා. එහෙනම් අපිට විරුද්ධ වෙන්න නැත්නම් අපිට ලේසියෙන් මේක සම්මත කරන්න පුළුවන් දෙපැත්තේ.
බොහොමස්තුති ජනාධිපතිතුමනි.
මම ඔබතුමාගේ අහන්නේ මේ අයවැයට කලින් අපිට ජාත්‍යන්තර බහුල අරමුදලත් එක්ක අත්සන් කරපු ගිවිසුම පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ඉදිරිපත් කරනවාද ජනාධිපතිතුමා මොකද ඒක වැදගත්?
සර් අපි සාකච්ඡා කරාම ඒ සාකච්ඡා අවසන් කරාම අපිට යන්න තියෙන්නේ IMF එකට පමණයි. ඒත් මේ අවස්ථාවේදී මේක අරගෙන අපි අනික් රටවල් එක්ක කතා කරනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම දැන්ට ජපානයේ කතා කරනවා චීනය, ඉන්දියාව. මේ දෙක පැරිස් ක්ලබ් එකේ සමාජිකයන් නෙමෙයි. එතනත් සංශෝධන වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ ඔක්කොම කරායින් පස්සේ මම කියන්න. It won't be too late. We are working accordingly. Look at the targets the IMF has given and see how we can increase it. That's what I want the budget. Certainly on this, we'll keep you informed.
Honorable Chair, if the agreement is tabled before the budget, it will be very helpful.
IMF says don't release it till we finish this round of negotiations. Don't worry, we are not, I won't put anyone into trouble. So agreement has been signed and finished. We must get the others to sign. If there's a change, we'll come back to you and tell you. But so far, we don't know what China and India has to say, I don't think. 3 other parties we have to discuss, and then the private creditors. So there was no intermediate stage. But I can keep you brief, and the targets are there.
කරුණු පැහැදිලි කර ගැනීමක් ජනාධිපතිතුමනි, ජාත්‍යන්තර ස්වෛරී බැඳුම් කරවලින් ගත්තු ණය තොගයකුත් තියෙනවා. ජාත්‍යන්තර ආයතන වලින් ගත්තු ණයත් රටවල් වලින් ගත්තු ණයටත් අමතරව ඒ ජාත්‍යන්තර ස්වෛරී බැඳුම් කරවලින් ගත්තු ණයත් ප්‍රතිව්‍යුහගත කරන එකට යනවද?
අපිට ඔක්කොම පුද්ගලික ණය ISBs ඒ වගේම ජාත්‍යන්තර සංවිධාන වලින් ලබාගත්තේ ණයත් විශේෂයෙන්ම ඒ රටවල් එක්ක ලබාගත්තේ ද්විපාර්ශ්වික ගිවිසුම් අතර. මේකෙන් ප්‍රධානම එක තමයි ද්විපාක්ෂික ගිවිසුම් අතර. ඒ එකඟත්වයට ISB අනික් පුද්ගලිකය පිළිගන්නවා.
අවාසනාවකට හෝ මේ කිසියම් රටක් ඒ ණය ප්‍රතිව්‍යුහගතකරණයට අදාළ යෝජනාවට එකඟ නොවී වෙනත් විකල්ප යෝජනාවක් හෝ වෙනත් දෙයක් ඉදිරිපත් කළොත් එතකොට මේ සමස්ත ණය ප්‍රතිව්‍යුහගත කිරීමේ ක්‍රියාවලිය බිඳ වැටෙනවාද?
සාකච්ඡා කරලා තියෙන එක රටක් විරුද්ධ වුණොත් මොකද්ද සිදු වෙන්නේ කියලා නැත්නම් එක නොවුනොත් ඒ දැනට ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම උතන තියෙන්නේ විකල්ප දෙකයිනේ. ණය කපා හරින එකද ණය ගෙවන කාලේ දික් කරන එකද අවුරුදු 10කට 20කට. ඔය දෙකෙන් ඒවා තමයි කතා කරලා අපිට පුළුවන් ඒ අනුව අපිට සකස් කරගන්න පුළුවන් මේ විකල්ප දෙකෙන් එකකට. ග්ලාස්ගෝ නුවර ගිය අවුරුද්දේ තිබ්බේ COP26 එදා බ්‍රිතාන්‍ය ආණ්ඩුව හිටපු අගමැති බොරිස් ජොන්සන් මැතිතුමා ඒක නායකත්වයේ යටතේ හොඳ යෝජනාවක් දැන් ඉදිරිපත් කරා. විශේෂයෙන්ම 2050 වෙනකොට මේ රටේ දේශගුණ විපර්යාසය නවත්තන්න අපි කෙසේ හෝ සෙන්ටිග්‍රේඩ් 1.5කට මේ ග්‍රීෂ්ම උණුස සීමා කරන්න කියලා. මම බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ ටික ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් වචනෙන් කතා කරන්න. මොකද ලංකාවට පමණ නෙමෙයි අනික් රටවල් වලටත් වැදගත්. Honorable Deputy Speaker, when we went into COP27, there has been no progress made since COP26. In fact, the target of 1.5 degrees centigrade by 2050 was being raised again, even by some of the developed countries and many countries in the G20. The G20 had not reduced their emissions at all. They have not in any way contributed the $100 billion that they promised. We require $350 billion a year, but we had not even fulfilled that pledge. So in that sense, COP27 having a setback to the agreements and the achievements of COP26. Now, if you look at the COP27 arrangements, we found that none of the developed countries or the G20 were there to have a serious conversation with the others. Some of the leaders who came only for the opening day, and though they are supposed to have made statements, those statements were not made in the main conference but on sidelines of various events that took place.
Now, Canadian Member of Parliament for Don Valley North Han Dong, who is currently in Sri Lanka with the Canadian business delegation of Sri Lankan origin exploring investment opportunities, says that Sri Lanka is pretty good in terms of doing business, adding that the government has a willingness to attract investments to the country. Speaking to Indivari Amawatha on our current affairs program at Hyde Park on AdaDerana 24, the Canadian MP said he sees Sri Lanka as a country ready for both domestic and foreign investments.
In terms of doing business, how do you assess the environment in Sri Lanka for outside investors?
I think it's pretty good from what I see. But certainly the recent crisis has put a dent in the confidence of investors. My recommendation to the Canadian investors is when they come here, you really use the service of their High Commission or consulate. There are many experts working on the ground who has the knowledge, who has the connection with the government agencies that can be helpful. What I've seen in a very limited time, I should say, is the willingness not just to attract investment for the short period, but having a longer plan, whether it's real estate development, whether it's infrastructure development from the government side in Sri Lanka to the foreign investors. They are offering a lot of opportunities to them. They are offering a lot of incentive to them. But for the local economy to really become robust, there has to be infrastructure investments, which is capital intensive. And there's an opportunity for foreign investors. And there has to be a stable supply of energy. And that was one of the big element of the discussion during the crisis, is that continuation of a stable energy supply. So that's going to be a challenge.
Would you say Sri Lanka is ready to do business with the rest of the world, that Sri Lanka is ready to welcome tourists? You visited here in the past couple of days. How would you assess the situation here and speak to the rest of the world?
This is very important, and I want to send this message out. My last 5 days of stay, I saw the society, the order has been restored for the society. I've seen a very energetic economy. People are busy, they're working, there's congestions on the road, there's still cars moving around. And I also had taken an opportunity to visit an organic Buddhist village, and on the way there, I see the stores of very very specialized technical product, which is I think they play a big part in the supply chain. Them operating, and there's business people going in and out. So to me, they're all signs of a very vibrant economy, and I hope Sri Lanka can continue this trend while attracting foreign investment, take care of the fundamentals, whether it's energy or fuel supplies or raw material supplies, to enable these healthy economic activities. But I certainly will take this back and have conversation with my colleagues and share my observations. What I see is an economy ready for investments, domestic and foreign.
Now, World Bank Group President David Malpass affirms the World Bank's support to Sri Lanka to rebuild the economy and create a foundation for sustainable private sector-led growth. This was conveyed during his meeting with the Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe on the sidelines of COP27.
On the sidelines of COP27, or the United Nations Climate Change Conference in Egypt, President Ranil Wickremesinghe recently met with the World Bank Group President David Malpass. According to President's Media Division, the World Bank chief and President Wickremesinghe had discussed the challenging macroeconomic and social situation in Sri Lanka and the urgent need to stabilize the economy. During the meeting, World Bank's President David Malpass emphasized the importance of timely and effective resolution to Sri Lanka's debt crisis and encouraged Sri Lanka's President to continue engaging with official bilateral and private sector creditors to promptly agree on debt restructuring. David Malpass and Sri Lanka's head of state discussed ways to improve efficiency of public expenditure and necessary reforms to state-owned enterprises, particularly given the large size of the public sector of the country. The World Bank chief further affirmed the institution's support to the Sri Lankan people in rebuilding the economy and creating a foundation for sustainable private sector-led growth through International Development Association concessional financing, technical assistance, and policy advice. They had also discussed the opportunities for improving agriculture production and value chains, including through effective programs supporting fertilizer use, as well as Sri Lanka's large potential in the service sector, including tourism and education. Meanwhile, taking to Twitter, World Bank President David Malpass mentioned that agriculture and fertilizer reforms, fiscal improvements and debt reduction will be vital as the World Bank Group, including the International Development Association of the World Bank, works to support Sri Lanka.
Now, the central bank revealed today that despite the challenges the country faced during the first half of the year in the island nation, they have shown signs of stability in the second half of 2022. The Monetary Authority, however, added that the country will not begin to experience recovery until the second half of 2023. In the central bank's latest report titled Recent Economic Developments, Highlights of 2022 and Prospects of 2023, the Monetary Authority said that the country has shown signs of stability in the second half of the year. The CBSL said that the Sri Lankan economy, which faced extreme headwinds and heightened uncertainties during the first half of 2022, has shown signs of stability in the second half of this year so far. The report revealed that the stability has been assisted by the myriad of multifaceted policy interventions undertaken to steer the economy to transition towards a path of stable and sustainable growth over the medium term. The CBSL also emphasizes that the debt restructuring process has also reached an advanced stage, along with the engagement of the IMF on a macroeconomic adjustment program, progressed on many fronts, with a staff-level agreement for an extended fund facility, which was reached in early September 2022. However, the economy is expected to transit onto the path of recovery from the latter part of 2023, in consideration to the progress that has been made thus far in relation to the IMF's EFF program and debt restructuring negotiations, the reforms that have already been undertaken and those that are to be implemented in the period ahead, the CBSL pointed out. Nevertheless, the progress will hinge on the policymakers' unwavering commitment to implementing policy reforms in a timely, holistic and efficacious manner, the CBSL states, adding that such commitment should be ensured by remaining unhampered by political and election cycles. Further, the report also includes that the matter is imperative to prevent any oscillations of national policies in the crucial period ahead in order to strengthen the economy's resilience to external shocks thereby ensuring its unwavering progress over the medium term. The Speaker Mahinda Yapa says the Supreme Court has determined that the Value-Added Tax Amendment Bill as a whole is not inconsistent with the provisions of the Constitution if necessary amendments are made. He stated this convening the Supreme Court's decision on the VAT Amendment Bill during the parliamentary session this morning. The bill to amend the VAT Act No. 14 of 2022 was passed in the Committee on Public Finance on the 22nd of March 2022. However, it was challenged in the Supreme Court as 2 petitions were filed seeking an order that the clauses included in the relevant amendment bill are in violation of the Constitution. Now stay with us to find out more details on what happened in the major fire that broke out in the Maldives after this short break.
Big 3.
Now welcome back. Now the police says steps have been taken to hand over all investigations into complaints filed over incidents of ragging to the Criminal Investigation Department.
Issuing a statement, the Police Media Division today said that Inspector General of Police C.D. Vikramaratne had ordered the CID to conduct future investigations concerning 3 separate complaints on ragging as per the provisions of the Code of Criminal Procedure. Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police has also instructed senior officers that the CID will conduct investigations on future complaints on ragging, and police stations are required to forward such complaints to the Criminal Investigation Department. Ragging is a practice continued in state universities of the country in forms of verbal, physical or psychological abuse that newly enrolled students undergo when entering universities in Sri Lanka. Ragging in the recent past came to light following the incident reported from the University of Peradeniya in September, where 11 students of the university's Faculty of Law who have expressed their objection against ragging were assaulted by a student group involved in ragging. 4 students sustained injuries during the incident were admitted to the hospital as well.
Now, the Ministry of Defence has given approval to the members of armed forces who are currently abroad and absent without leave to receive a legal discharge from their respective services without reporting to the unit order their recently declared general amnesty period from the 15th of November until the 31st of December. Accordingly, the Triforces personnel who have been absent without leave on or before the 25th of October this year will be able to receive their discharge from military services. However, they will have to settle any due amount prior to discharge. Further, the ministry emphasized that these persons shall not have pending investigations for disciplinary breaches except their absence without leave. Now, the Committee on Public Enterprises questioned Lanka Coal Company Private Limited on how the coal tender was awarded to Black Sands Commodities, stating that there are legal issues pertaining to the selection of coal suppliers. However, the Coal Procurement Committee says the tender was awarded to Black Sands Commodities without violating the procurement procedure.
මේ ගනුදෙනුව සම්බන්ධයෙන් නීතියානුකූලව ඇති වෙන ප්‍රශ්න ගණනාවක් තියෙනවා සප්ලයර්ස් තෝරා ගැනීම සම්බන්ධයෙන්.
ලේකම්තුමා සම්බන්ධයෙන් 2022 අගෝස්තු 2 වෙනි දින ලංකා ගල්ලංගුරු සමාගම විසින් සුවැක් කේජී වෙනුවට බ්ලැක් සෑන්ඩ් කොමියුනිටිස් සමග ගනුදෙනු පවත්වාගෙන යාමේ හැකියාව පිළිබඳ නීතිපති වෙතින් විමසා තිබූ අතර එම මතය ලැබීමට පෙර 2022 අගෝස්තු 25 වෙනි දින බ්ලැක් සෑන්ඩ් කොමියුනිටිස් වෙත ලන්සුව ප්‍රදානය කර තිබුණු බව නිරීක්ෂණය විය. ඒක ලේකම්තුමා කරපු දෙයක්. නීතිපති මතය එන්න පෙර ලන්සුව ලබා දීම.
නොරොච්චෝලේ ගල්ලංගුරු බලාගාරය සඳහා ගල්ලංගුරු ප්‍රසම්පාදන කටයුතු අපට පැවරුනේ රටේ තිබුණු කලබලකාරී තත්ත්වයක් යටතේ. මේ අවස්ථාවේදී කිසිදු අරමුදලකුත් නැහැ. අපි ගියවර ප්‍රසම්පාදනය කරපු සමහර ගල්ලංගුරු බෑවෙත් නැහැ. ඒවට ගෙවන්නත් තියෙනවා. බලාගාරයේ ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීමට තව තියෙන තොග ප්‍රමාණය විස්තර අපට ලබලා දුන්නා. ඒකෙදි අපට කිව්වේ ඔක්තෝබර් මාසේ 10 වෙනිදා 15 වෙනිදා වෙනකොට තියෙන ගල්ලංගුරු ප්‍රමාණය ප්‍රමාණවත් නැහැ. ඉතින් ඒ හින්දා අපට ඊට ඉස්සරලා මේ ප්‍රසම්පාදන කටයුතු කරගන්න ඕනකම තිබුණා. අපි විතරක් නෙමෙයි මේ ප්‍රසම්පාදන කමිටුවට සහාය දක්වන තාක්ෂණික උපදේශක කමිටුවක් ඉන්නවා. ඒ කමිටුවත් බලාගාරයේ ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන නිලධාරීත් එක්ක සාකච්ඡා කරලා තමයි මේ තියෙන තත්ත්වය අනුව මේවා කරේ. ඒ බව අපි කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයට දැනුම් දීලා තියෙනවා.
සමායන ලේකම්තුමා කියපු කාරණේ වැරදි. ඔක්තෝබර් 15 වෙනකොට ගල්ලංගුරු තොග සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම අහිමි වෙලා මේ ටෙන්ඩරේ වැරදුනොත් ගල්ලංගුරු බලාගාරයේ වැහිලා රට අඳුරේ තියෙන තත්ත්වයක් තිබුණේ නැහැ. ස්පොට් ටෙන්ඩර්ස් වලින් එන්න තිබිච්ච නැව් ගණනාවක් තව ඉතුරු වෙලා තිබුණා. එතන තිබුණා ටොන් මිලියන 1.12. ඒ කියන්නේ 6 මාසයක් දුවන්න පුළුවන් ගල්ලංගුරු. ඒකට සල්ලි නැති එක වෙනම දෙයක්. සල්ලි නැත්නම් ඉතින් මේ අලුත් ටෙන්ඩරේටත් සල්ලි. විශේෂ අවස්ථාවක් බ්ලැක් සෑන්ඩ් එකට ලබා දුන්නාය කියන එක මේ විගණකාධිපතිගේ වාර්තාවේ තියෙන එක නිරීක්ෂණයක්.
අපිට සල්ලි තිබුණා නම් ඩිරෙක්ට් පේමන්ට් එකක් කරන්න අවස්ථාව තිබුණා නම් මේ වගේ තත්ත්වයක් ඇති වෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපි ඇත්තටම මේ ප්‍රොකියුමන්ට් ප්‍රොසීජර් එකේ වයලේට් කරේ නැහැ. ඒ වෙලාවේ උද්ගත වෙච්ච තත්ත්වය අනුව තමයි මේ තීරණ ගත්තේ.
Now, the Colombo stock market saw the worst foreign outflow in more than 1 year today as an offshore fund sold shares in top private lender Commercial Bank, despite the market gaining the second session, led by conglomerate John Keel's Holdings. The all-share price index closed 0.35% firmer at 8,322.62. The more liquid index S&P SL20 closed 0.74% higher at 2,560.28. The market saw a turnover of 2.3 billion rupees, the highest in 3 months, but lower than this year's average turnover of 3.0 billion rupees. The bourse saw a net foreign outflow of 1.1 billion rupees, the worst since September 3rd of 2021. However, total net foreign inflow so far for the year is 17.7 billion rupees. Analysts say that market will remain bearish until the budget 2023, which is presented on the 14th of November, but expect to see a bullish sentiment in the start of next year. Now, meanwhile, John Keel's Holdings, contributing most to the index's gain, ended 3.1% high at 139.7 rupees a share. And that concludes tonight's edition of First at 9. Join us again tomorrow at the same time for the very latest news. Until then, visit our website www.adadarana.lk for more news. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit AdaDerana.lk.